Hello, I'm Doug Gamble, the missions pastor at Crossroads Fellowship, and I'm here with my good friend and colleague, Steve Hickle, who is a longtime Methodist pastor at Fairmont United Methodist Church, which also helped launch Stop Hunger Now in this city and where it's expanded. And he was a guest at our meet and greet this March 1st in 2016, and describing how Stop Hunger Now, which was a wonderful ministry, reached a eureka point and became a movement. And that has really captured my imagination, and I wanted to get kind of underneath what the story was there. And so we only had a time for a few comments at the meet and greet, but Steve is going to kind of explain to us a little bit about that. So I'm wondering, Steve, if you could, for those who don't know anything about Stop Hunger Now, before we get up to the eureka that kind of changed everything, just give us that first history. Sure. Where did this thing come from, Stop Hunger Now?
Well, it comes from the heart and mind of Dr. Ray Buchanan, United Methodist minister from Virginia, who, with a colleague, began a ministry in the 1970s. Wow. Called Society of St. Andrew, which is a biblical gleaning network. They gleaned sweet potatoes from the fields that were going to be left behind. They're the wrong size or they were damaged. And they're able to put together volunteers and transportation and a distribution network that not only recovered that food, was able to put it before people who really needed food.
So we're not just giving cheap groceries to me and you. This is for people who were hungry.
That's right. Places like our food banks and urban ministries and church food pantries, all those things that can translate this really durable, nutritious food, and that was very helpful. And out of that experience, he also had a vision that we could glean on a worldwide network. And what would that look like? Well, he boldly ventured out with a brand new group called Stop Hunger Now, started in 1998.
So we've actually already started movement. We've gone from gleaning in a local way to thinking, hey, wait, maybe there's the same principle at a higher level. So I almost see the movement germ beginning to grow.
And the Potato Project did spread nationwide and continues. But worldwide, what would that look like? Well, it wouldn't be as practical to send shiploads of sweet potatoes, so there had to be something else to do that. But there were supplies of food, there was transportation, there were people willing to donate money to put them together, and there certainly was a crying need. But Ray's bold vision was to end hunger in our lifetimes.
Wait, I want to hear that again. Just want to make sure my ears aren't plugged up. His goal was to...
The crazy, audacious goal was to end hunger in our lifetimes. And how do you define our lifetimes? Well, the idea is in the name, to stop hunger now. And so Ray began to assemble some friends like me. Within about a year and a half, he and two colleagues, that was the entire organization, moved into my church building, my Fairmont Church, in January of 2000.
Okay, so we have three crazy guys that think they're going to stop hunger now. God bless them. They said if we could glean potatoes, maybe we could glean more. And then we had this other crazy pastor who says, yeah, why don't y'all come on down, let's try this in Raleigh.
Over the next several years, I spent a lot of time with them. We had a lot of coffee, we had a lot of lunches, we had a lot of dreams about how in the world to really end hunger. With some success, dealing with disasters, dealing with underserved areas, with a real rapid response, with a real low overhead.
Yeah, because see, if we're gleaning in our area, we kind of go to the missions like you mentioned. When we start going globally, first you got to identify the at-risk people, then where's the food? I mean, boy, that really changed the game a good bit.
That's right. And there were large disaster organizations, relief organizations, that were going to be able to do the big responses, but there were always areas that got left out, and that became Stop Hunger Now's specialty to really work on that. So
the places we don't see on CNN when the disaster happens, but they're just as hard-hit and hungry as the people who got on the news.
And may never be found until damage is really done to the people there. So things continued on that basis until about December 10th of 2005, and that became an organization and life-changing day.
We're talking about just 10 years ago.
10 years
So
ago.
we in Virginia, it started, you said, in the 80s? No,
1998.
1998, so right at the 2000. Then about 7 years getting it down here, doing the sweet potato thing worldwide or nationwide, then thinking globally, and then something really, this eureka moment that you shared with me earlier, that's what began to happen. How did that arrive to you? Did you go seeking that, or was this a surprise of God that kind of turned Stop Hunger Now on its head?
I think that there was a desire to develop some kind of product, to preposition some kind of product to use in relief. One of the things we looked at was a fish-based soup that was made in Texas, and we thought it smelled bad, so we didn't want to serve anything to anybody that we thought smelled bad. So we didn't do that. But then we began to hear about a group up in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
We have a guy who gleans, then he gets the idea of doing it globally. Then you, after 7 years, you guys are, I mean, you're having all these coffee talks, you're studying hunger, you're thinking the mechanics. So there's sort of a germ that God is, it sounds to me, is stirring up in you. And then this thing happened, it sort of turned it all on its head. And we're going to come back and talk more about that. But this is Steve Hickle from Stop Hunger Now, a local United Methodist pastor. Dear friend of mine, we've known each other for over 20 years and worked together on a number of activities. And I just want you to know he is in his last year at Stop Hunger Now, will be retiring, and he's quite available to share this story and mentoring other young nonprofit leaders who might be interested in gleaning, even from your experience, some of the things that God taught you, some of the things that you found freedom to pursue visions from the Lord with this partnership because you were doing more than just local church. I hope you'll gather some of those ideas from this story, and feel free to contact Steve. We have his contact information available for you, and hopefully you'll have some folks that you can continue to bless who can move a ministry toward a movement. Thanks a lot for listening to us. We really appreciate that.